The answers come from one place, and right now you are looking at him.
Triple H has been hailed as the biggest reason why the quality of WWE television has improved significantly in the last couple of years. It's hard to deny the instant impact he's had on a creative level. He's basically the captain running the ship along with Nick Khan, who also deserves a lion's share of the credit. The fact that it's a team effort and that it takes a team to achieve all that WWE has in the last 2 years should be mentioned, but that really isn't the point of this video.
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
We're now a good 26 months into the Triple H era, and while we agree it's the best and most consistent quality of WWE programming we've seen in years, we can't help but notice a few issues. So what exactly is this Triple H problem that WWE has been having? Like we said, there's no denying that the quality of television has been on a much better level, but has it been perfect? No. We certainly don't think it can be perfect, but we can point out a few issues that have been recurring. Vince McMahon was almost the complete opposite of Triple H in the sense that he almost actively avoided giving the vocal internet audience or the internet wrestling community what they wanted. But Vince McMahon was on a different spectrum. He has openly stated on his own TV shows multiple times that he genuinely didn't care about what people wanted, he only cared about what he wanted. Triple H could be leaning a bit in the opposite direction. His first major project in NXT became a massive hit among the internet wrestling community, and you can see it to this day that a large chunk of their fan base are the hardcore, dedicated wrestling fans. And while that worked perfectly in NXT because they weren't hosting arena shows regularly, the bright lights of the main roster are a lot different, and he likely realizes this. Listening to the internet fan base was a good call in the case of Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, but it's not always going to work, and sometimes going out of your way to cater to them can isolate a large, more casual audience that watches every week. Another major issue is the lack of storylines for the lower card superstars. Triple H follows a very competitive philosophy where he believes that if there's nothing creatively in place for certain superstars, they won't be featured on television at all. There's value in having smaller storylines even if they don't get as much TV time. We think that even Triple H would be surprised at how much fans would love to see a Tier 2 or Tier 3 superstar being featured every week on TV. It's in these specific types of situations where you can clearly find certain superstars who can shine and are just waiting for the opportunity to do so. That's exactly where he's gone wrong, especially with a lot of the rehirings he has made since 2022. That's another issue in this relatively new era of WWE. The rehires have been underwhelming to a large degree. Chelsea Green is the best example of a big successful return, but even former world champions like Braun Strowman have failed to enjoy their previous levels of stardom and success. But think of some of the other names that returned under his tenure and you'll see that for the most part, it's been kind of underwhelming. Perhaps the biggest disappointment has been the overall handling of the WWE Women's Division under Triple H. It might be controversial to say, but the last 6 years of Vince McMahon's tenure were the best that the women ever had in WWE. We will say that it doesn't erase the decades of mistreatment on his side, but by the end of his tenure, he was a lot more willing to give women the spotlight. Apart from Rhea Ripley, it feels like very few women have benefited from the Triple H era. You have an occasional outlier like Liv Morgan, but he hasn't been able to create a star to the level of Rhea Ripley in the women's division, which is a shame considering how much talent there is. It comes down to a few factors, but a lack of good stories for the women means that they aren't going to get the treatment of a rising star. Even one of WWE's hottest stories featuring Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio seems to have cooled down significantly, and that was the hottest women's division storyline in the last 2 years. Another issue that keeps coming up is the lack of willingness to add certain championship matches to premium live events. For example, the last time either of the men's tag team championships were defended at a premium live event as of October was at WrestleMania all the way back in April. On one hand, the policy of a 5 to 6 match card for premium live events can leave room for highly anticipated title matches on TV, but it still feels a bit odd. Like, why would the tag team championships of all things not deserve a spot on a PLE card? We get the importance of building up the two TV shows considering how much revenue they generate for WWE, but traditionally, Pay-per-views, or premium live events as we call them now, have always been a spot for the most important matches, so not putting the tag team titles on PLEs makes them feel less important. Let's not even get into the women's tag team division and how that's been just as inconsistent in this era as it was in the previous one. We'd get into the entire representation under Triple H argument, but we're going to leave that aside for you, the fans, to discuss because it's probably not in our place to talk about that. There are a few kinks that occasionally pop up, but we'll mention one of the final issues, that not every story needs a long payoff and not every championship necessitates a long reign. Look at the Attitude Era, for instance. We urge you to go to Wikipedia and look at the lengths of all the WWE Championship reigns and see how many of them even crossed 100 days. We're not calling for short, unexpected title changes or anything like that, but it's suffice to say that not every championship reign needs to be 6 months or more. We get the logic behind Triple H's old school booking philosophy where things are a little predictable but the payoff is huge. There's one issue with that. Considering how wrestling is a 52-week year-round industry, there is a place for both long championship reigns as well as short ones. It seems like there really isn't a place for unexpected, shocking title changes. Some of the greatest title wins in WWE history came as a surprise, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Throwing in these shocking title changes can add a certain flavor that's missing in this era, an element of chaos from the eras gone by. We're not arguing that as a whole, the old school philosophy doesn't pay off. We'd actually argue that the long-term nature of WWE's current storytelling is one of the reasons why things have gotten hotter. But that doesn't mean that it's the only formula that WWE needs to stick to, because even with that, there's going to be a shelf life. We anticipate that some of these issues will be fixed, but certain ones need to be addressed sooner rather than later, especially the lack of compelling stories in the women's division. It's still been a great era with unprecedented success, which means they're obviously doing something right. But doing something right doesn't mean doing everything right, and hopefully they're catching on to all of this. It's important to remember that WrestleMania 40 was the first official WrestleMania to not have Vince McMahon present in any way, shape, or form. So in that sense, we're still in the thick of the new era, and we'd like to give Triple H and his entire team some time to figure out the issues and sort it all out in the years to come. We could still be in for a golden age. Thanks for watching.